Hello, am I on? Can you see me? How do I look? Good? Yeah? Okay. Can you hear me? Is the mic working? Looks like everything's working. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening, or all the times in between. Happy day to you all. Happy Monday. Some of you are getting ready for Tuesday already, which is still crazy to me that it's Tuesday or almost Tuesday in some parts of the world. My day is just beginning. It's early here. I would say it's bright and early, but it's still dark outside. Hello, everybody. Thank you, Ibrahim. I don't know about gorgeous. Passable. I would say I look passable. Yeah, the beard's coming in nicely. Actually, I'm probably going to shave pretty soon. If the weather gets a little warmer, it'll probably be safe to shave. Oh, thank you. Oh, shucks. Stop it, guys. You're too kind. You're too kind. You're too effusive in your praise. You're giving me too many compliments. You're giving me too many compliments. Yeah, I know. They're just jokes. Let's take a look at the class notes. Once again, I'll put that link in. So this link goes to the class notes. What are the class notes? The class notes are basically what I present on. They're the lesson and the example sentences, and you can follow along if you're on your computer or your tablet. It might be a little harder if you're on your phone. But if you're on your computer or tablet, you should be able to open those class notes. They use Google technology. They are in my Google Drive, and I share them at the beginning of each lesson with you. Oh, effusive. Okay, hold on. We'll get to effusive in a second. Nice outfit. Is that to me? Nice outfit. This is an Argyle pattern here. I got an Argyle sweater pattern here. It's sweater weather up here in Washington State, in the northwest corner of the United States. Okay, there's the class notes in the background. My pleasure sharing the class notes with you. I want you to be able to see what I am saying. Well, I appreciate for whatever. Oh yeah, this is my coffee. This is my unstickered one. I have one full of stickers. This one doesn't have any stickers. Not yet. Okay, let's look at the links in the background. So this first one is Zach's email. Zach is up in Canada, up in Vancouver, BC. If you have any questions about these Smrt classes, please contact Zach. Zach at Smrt English, no A in there, it's SMRT. Zach at smartenglish.com. Then we have the Smrt Live page, and this is at smartenglish.com/live/live or smartenglish.com/ccel.live, and this gives you more information about these classes that we teach. Just what is a subscription? Well, subscription is you get homework and you get quizzes and things like that, and a certification, hard word, certification at the end, and access to the Smrt curriculum, which is a lot of lessons and a lot of exercises. When a teacher presents on a Smrt class, they will never get to all the lessons and they will never get to all the exercises. There's just too much. But if you would like access to everything, that's where the subscription comes in. And you can take pre-intermediate from Abby, intermediate from Sean, upper intermediate from myself, and English for academic purposes with Josh. Next page is where the physical location where I work. Here in Spokane, Washington, it is the Spokane College of English language. We are a small city with a pretty large population in the middle of mountains and woods. We got a river running through our city, all that good stuff. So if you have any more questions about the physical location, you can follow that link. Finally, you probably know this already, but in case you don't, our Facebook group is Learn English on Facebook. And I see, well, there's an entry from Diari right there, right off the bat. So I know a lot of you are already there. Smrt English on YouTube. You guys all are already on YouTube. However, have you checked out our archives? We keep all of our old classes here. So if you want to look at an old class, and maybe some older teachers that used to teach like Nicole here and Mark here, you can always go here and look at an old lesson. If there's something you want grammar-wise, vocabulary-wise, you can always look here and see if a teacher has already covered it, has already taught it. My name is Neal Hallgarth, Nealhallgarth. McD device, you're asking, is the certificate in paper format? I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe that's a question for Zach. So if you use this, that would be a good question for Zach. Okay. Vocabulary. You're wondering, what is effusive? I said effusive as in you're giving me effusive praise. Well, you can guess a lot. Spreads widely. It's like disperse, not disperse is another big word. Goes through the air. Effusive. So we use this word. It's paired a lot. It has become a collocation or a word pair with the word praise. We always say effusive praise. Effusive praise. And then my sweater. I said the pattern on my sweater is argyle. Argyle is a pattern of connected diamonds of different color. Often you might see argyle socks. You might see the same pattern, diamond pattern, on socks. Argyle. It's a pattern. Okay. I'll tell you what, when I'm done with this sweater, when the weather becomes warmer, one of you can have it. That'll be a contest, maybe. The word I really want to get to this morning is inversion. Inversion. So we're going to be talking about questions today, forming questions, making questions, which seems easy. In fact, we probably have videos already dedicated to this subject. But why it's so important to cover this subject again and to continually talk about this and practice this is questions, forming questions, writing questions, asking questions is often where students make mistakes. It's very, very easy to make mistakes with questions. Inversion is where a verb or auxiliary verb appear before the subject. So in certain grammar, you'll see this. Usually it's subject before verb or subject before auxiliary. That's normal. Sometimes, though, we have inversion, and you'll see the auxiliary. Most oftentimes it's the auxiliary. You'll see the auxiliary come before the subject, which is very unusual, but it happens. And it happens with questions. So as we go through this lesson, you're going to see some inversion. You're going to see where the subject is not the first word. As a matter of fact, you're probably used to a lot of times seeing a question word appear before the subject. So oftentimes when we form questions, of course, the question word goes before the subject and not after. And that's inversion. That's inversion. Okay, are you ready to get started? Are you ready to get started? All right, looks like you guys are entertaining yourselves, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with forming questions. Of course, I'm going to use the presentation on Smrt, SMRT. This is Grammar 11.1, forming questions. And it's a big one. Are you ready to go? Here we go. Oh, right off the bat, there it is. Inversion, question word order. Many questions in English follow the pattern question word coming first, then auxiliary verb, then subject, and then the main verb. So for some of our questions, the construction is question word, then auxiliary verb, then subject, then verb. Let's take a look at some examples. Where did you go? So what do we have here? We have question word, auxiliary, subject, verb. What are you going to eat? Question word, auxiliary, subject, main verb, and then to eat, an infinitive phrase. Who should I call? Question word, modal. It's not auxiliary. If you have a modal, the modal will go before the subject. So question word, modal, subject, main verb. How are you doing? Question word, auxiliary, subject, main verb. How have you been? Question word, auxiliary, subject, main verb. So you see that pattern again and again. Know that pattern. Question word, auxiliary, or modal. Here we see a modal. Question word, helping verb. How about I just say helping verb? Helping verb includes auxiliaries and modals. So I'll use helping verb. Question word, helping verb, subject, main verb. Even if our main verb is continuous or progressive with the ing at the end, we can break the auxiliary from its ing verb and put the subject in the middle. For questions, we have to do this. And this looks like been looks like a past participle, a verb 3. And so you can break the auxiliary from the past participle and put the subject in the middle. In fact, you have to with questions. So a very basic, yes, we are going to. Rosa, we're going to cover different types of questions. We're going to cover different types of questions. This is just the first basic type. This is just the first basic type. And of course, how would you answer these? Where did you go? You would have to give a location. What are you going to eat? You would have to give the type of food. Who should I call? You would have to say the name of the person. How are you doing? You would say your condition. Good, fine, okay, bad. How have you been? Same thing. Good, okay, pretty good. So we're asking for specific information, Informally, we could answer these with one word. We could easily answer these all with one specific word. But where did you go? We would answer, I went to the store. Of course, we'd have to answer in the past because the auxiliary is did. It's asking for past information. Where did you go? The store, or I went to the store. Rosa says she went to the university to attend a boring class. Well, that's no fun, Rosa. Boring classes are the worst. Hopefully, this one won't be so boring, so I'll speed it up a little bit and go to the next. If questions are asking for a yes or no answer, they're a little different. We, of course, do not need a question word. So those last questions, these ones here, we're asking for specific answers. We're asking for a location, a person, a type of food, how you feel, your feeling at the time, so a specific answer. These types of questions are only asking for a yes or no answer. They can be answered yes or no. To do that, we start with the auxiliary verb. Notice no question word this time. we're going to start these questions with an auxiliary verb, then the subject, then the main verb. Let's take a look at some examples. Are you going to the party? Yes or no? Of course, you would say, yes, I'm going to the party, or no, I'm not going to the party. So, auxiliary word, are, subject, you, main verb, going, and then prepositional phrase. Going where? To the party. Of course, because it's a question, don't forget the question mark. Don't forget the question mark. I know a lot of times as students, you chat, you use the chat rooms a lot, you use text a lot, you're typing on the computer as quickly as possible, a lot. And a lot of times you forget punctuation. Probably nowhere else is punctuation so important as it is on a question sentence. If you are writing questions, that question mark at the end becomes essential. It's necessary. Please do not forget the question mark punctuation. Even if you're in a hurry, find it. On my keyboard, it's in the corner next to the shift key. In fact, I have to use shift to use it. But for question words, that question mark is essential. Never, ever forget your punctuation. Punctuation is like the ending punctuation is like the caboose on a train. And having said the word caboose, I better go to my vocabulary. What the heck is a caboose? C-A-B-O-O-S-E. It is the last car on a train. So if you see, for example, a freight train carries goods. It carries supplies from one location to the other. It's a work train. The last car is often a caboose. A caboose is not a car to store things. A caboose is, well, how to explain it? It's the last car. It's the last car on a train. You know, I've never been in one, so I don't know what's inside of it. But it's not for cargo. It's not for freight. It's for people, but it's not a passenger car either. So it's a little hard to explain. And with trains nowadays, this terminology might be dated. Some trains, like passenger trains, high-speed trains, bullet trains, magnetically propelled trains, don't have cabooses. They'll have another end. They'll have another engine at the other side or another drive car on the other side. However, no, it's not a slang word. Everybody knows this word. Even though it may be dated, maybe not all trains have cabooses at the end, everybody knows this word. For some reason, when we're kids, I think around the world, I don't think it's just America, when we're kids, we learn a lot about trains. We are fascinated by trains. And I had, toy trains growing up. I read books about trains. This word came up a lot. Caboose. Opposite of the engine. It's not slang. Yeah, it's kind of like a guard car. It's a safety car at the end. Okay, Vivek, you hate punctuation. Well, we are talking about questions. This is easy, right? If you see that you're not starting with a subject, you're starting with a question word or an auxiliary, that lets you know you have to use the question mark at the end. And remember, no space between the word at the end and the question mark at the end. They will go together. Are you going to the party? No space, question mark comes right after. Could you give me a hand? Do I have to come? This one's a modal, so again, a helping verb. Modal, subject, main verb, auxiliary, subject, main verb. And if you start with something besides the subject, and it happens to be a question word or a helping verb like an auxiliary or a modal, you know you need that question mark at the end. Yes, that's right, Melinda. The caboose is the last train of a car, sometimes used for guarding. Yeah, it's like a guard car to watch the rear of the train, to be able to look at the rear of the train, see what's going on behind the train. Yeah, so and people can go there. There's not cargo there. There's not freight there. People can go there. I suppose it can be type of a passenger car. Caboose, the last car in a train. Caboose. It's a good word to rhymes with moose. There's a moose in the caboose. All right. Subject questions. Subject questions. These will be a little different. Subject questions are when we are asking for the subject of a verb. In subject questions, we do not use inversion. We do not use inversion, which is normal question word order. So already we're talking about an exception. And do not use the auxiliaries do, does, or did unless they're negative. Okay, so here we don't have inversion. We won't start with the question word. We won't start with an auxiliary. And we're not going to use the word do. We're not going to use the word does. We're not going to use the word did unless they're negative. We cannot use the positive forms of do, does, or did. Rosa's saying caboose means nightmare in Arabic. Wow. Languages are so weird. For us, it's the last train in a car. In the Arabic language, it's a nightmare. That's fascinating. I don't think they share much in common then. Knowledge is free. It's okay. It's okay for anybody who's late, who's just coming. We are talking about questions. So let's look at some examples. Who went to the bathroom? Vivek, did you go to the bathroom? Vivek went to the bathroom. What happened? Who is going to make dinner tonight? Steve. Steve's going to make dinner tonight. What damaged my computer? A caboose ran over it. Who didn't? And there you see the negative. Who didn't write their essay? Who did not write their essay? The class. The class did not write their essay. Everybody. That's right, Diari. Who came to the party? You guys are coming up with lots of examples. Let's see. Where are we on our notes? Go up a little bit. Yeah, this one. Okay, let's see if I can put in some of yours. So, Subham, Mr. Gupta, you wrote who, and here we would just use is. Who is playing soccer with you in the morning? Remember that question mark. Remember that question mark in the end. Who is playing soccer with you in the morning? Yeah, what person? Nora. It's a very grim question. Hopefully you don't have to ask this question too much. Who killed the victim? Who killed the victim? Who's the murderer? Who killed the victim? Who lives with you? Nobody lives with me. I live alone. I probably told you this before, I have a pet snake. So I live with just me and my snake. Who came to the party? Everybody came to the party. Okay, so who knows this guy? Who knows this guy? Good, these are all subject questions. We are asking for a subject that works with the verb. Who killed the victim? We're asking for the name, the identity of the killer. We're asking for who did the killing. Who lives with you? We're asking who is doing the living with you. Who bought this car? We're asking who did the buying. So we're asking who did this verb. What did this verb? Who or what performed the action of the verb? Who is going to make dinner tonight? Who will do the action of making dinner? So we're asking for the subject of the verb in the question. Who didn't write their essay? So we're asking for the identity of the students that did not write their essay. These are called subject questions. Yeah, so who's helping me? Where are you? Who is your brother? I'm going to take where are you because we don't have a location question yet. Where are you? So, subject questions. If you look at, let's wait for the presentation to pop back up. Loading, loading, loading. Let's try that again. One more time. No, is it going to fight me? Looks like it. I could still have it on the background there. Okay, let's just do it that way then. So notice we have the question word, then we have the main verb, question word, main verb, question word, main verb, which is continuous here, is going, question word, main verb, question word, and we can use didn't if it's in the negative, auxiliary main verb. And we're asking for who did the action, who did the action. These are called subject questions, subject questions. Okay, this next one is going, yeah, we're asking for the subject. We're asking for the subject of the answer. Okay, so let's look at the next one. This one's going to be a little more complicated. Let's see if it wants to load. Oh, there we go. Okay. This one's going to be a little more complicated. This is questions with prepositions at the end. Questions. Oh, Leo, you think I have too many tabs open? Probably have too many tabs open. Let's look at questions with prepositions at the end. It is important to realize that some questions do not make sense unless we include a preposition at the end. Let's look at the following sentences. She is coming with Jack to the party. I was talking about money with my father. They applied for a visitor's visa. Okay, so obviously these are not questions. We are going to look at the question forms of these sentences. But notice, just in the normal sentence, if these were our answers to the questions, we would need prepositions. We would need prepositions here. With, about, for. So we would need prepositions. She is coming with Jack. I was talking about money. They applied for a visitor's visa. So if we're asking about the yellow highlighted words, I didn't see yellow highlighted words. So let's just look at the questions. Who is she coming to the party with? Oh, the green highlighted words. They're looking for the green highlighted words. Let's go back. So not yellow, green. They're asking for the green highlighted words. We need to include the preposition. So we're going to have with in the question. And we're going to use about in a question and for in a question. Who is she coming to the party with? Let's see the answer. She's coming with Jack to the party. What were you talking with your father about? I was talking about money with my father. What visa did they apply for? They applied for a visitor's visa. So notice these prepositions go at the end. They go at the end of the question. Oh, it looks like you have a lot. So maybe this one isn't so tricky for you. Maybe this one isn't so tricky for you. You have your own examples. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Oh, the only thing I can think of. There was an old sitcom on television called Different Strokes, and the main character, Arnold, his famous phrase is, "What are you talking about, Willis?" or "What you talking about, Willis?" Famous line from old TV. What school do you go to? What school do you go to? What school do you go to? I go to SCEL. Who are you having lunch with? Who are you having lunch with? Who are you having lunch with? I'm having lunch with the president. We need what are you waiting for? That's a good one. I'm going to try that name, Bergvolk. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? I'm waiting for the train. Okay, so many examples. I can't get to all of them. Yes, SCEL is a college. That's correct. It is a college. I am not a student. I was just using that as an example answer. I am not a student here. I'm a teacher here, of course. But, it's not uncommon. I know it might be a little different in some other countries, but it's very common in America for people of all ages to attend college or university. So we have a very, very wide range of ages in our students, even here at SCEL. So for somebody like me, it would not be unusual for me to go back to college or university. It would be unusual for me to go to a language school, in fact, I've had some Americans ask me, can they attend this school? And the answer is no, it's only for international students. But many Americans feel like their writing, their grammar, their knowledge of their own language is not good enough. It's not sufficient. And maybe they're right. A lot of people struggle with their language, even if it's just their first language, their mother tongue. A lot of people still struggle with it and still seek help with it. Which school do you go to? Knowledge is free. Is that true? You're 12 years old. I think the youngest student we've had before is 16. And you do need, of course, a parent's or guardian's permission. And you need some supervision. You can't do it on your own when you're that young. Like I said, the youngest student in my memory that we've had before is 16. And then the oldest student we've had, oh boy, I'm trying to think, has been in their 60s, maybe around 65. So obviously a huge age range, almost a 50-year age range. Which company do you work for? I work for SCEL. In the past, I worked for Microsoft. Okay, so it sounds like you know your questions with prepositions. Looks like you're giving me a lot of good example. Vivek, you're 63 years old. Well, you make me feel young. Now I feel young. In general, we use prepositions of time and place at the end of our sentences unless, so here's an exception to the questions with prepositions. unless the question words are when, where, what time, or how. Let's look at some examples. What day did you start class on? When did you start class? Notice no preposition. So if we start with what, we're going to need that preposition at the end. When we use when, and we're asking for the same information here, when we use when, no preposition. When did you start class? When did you start class? Hello, Samo. We are talking about questions, forming questions. Where do you live? Notice no preposition. Not like what street do you live on, or what city do you live in, or what country are you from. If you use the where, the location question, no preposition. Where do you live? It's different than what street do you live on. Where did you go? No preposition. Not what place did you go to? What store did you go in? Those need prepositions, but if you ask the location question or the time question, you do not need a preposition. So when, where, what time, or how, no preposition with those. So remember that. Remember those four. What city did you go to? Needs a preposition because what? What time is she coming? No preposition. What time needs no preposition. Which country did you live in? Which needs a preposition. What month were you born in? What needs a preposition. When were you born? No preposition. It's the when question. Excuse me. How did you get to school today? No preposition with how. So remember that. Some question words need prepositions. Some of them do not. When does Neal arrive at the college? When does Neal come to college? Too early. Too early in the morning. That's my answer to that one. It is common to use prepositions at the end of questions. In more formal English, the preposition can come at the beginning of the sentence instead. So what do we mean when we talk about formal English? And I know you've heard these terms before. Let me go to my class notes. Let me go all the way to my vocab. Okay. So we use these all the time. So we use this terminology all the time. Formal English and informal English. What do we mean? And some things that might come to mind with informal is slang or common, street language, street English, slang, common, street, conversational, friendly. These are all things that might come to mind when you think of informal English. For formal English, professional, academic. Yeah, essay. Good. Let's see, what else? What else do you think? Knowledge, you prefer slang. Yeah, over here on informal English, idioms. Although a lot of idioms do appear in formal English. Don't think of idioms as really bad English. Idioms are things that culturally make sense. A combination of words that make sense within a culture. So an example of an idiom that might make sense in more than one culture, let me try this one out, is that's the straw that broke the camel's back. And I'll write that down. We have this idiom in English. Of course, we don't have a lot of camels in America or in England or in Australia or in English-speaking countries. However, we have this idiom, and it also makes sense in other cultures. It's a very strange one, but if you use this, anytime any culture has this idiom, it will make sense, even though it's a very, very strange sentence. And it's asking you to imagine some strange imagery. And what the heck is a straw? Isn't a straw something you drink water out of? You put it in your cup and you drink water out of? Here it's talking about like grass, like wheat, grass, some kind of grain, a plant, a long, thin piece of plant. And we don't use this word often to refer to a plant or to grass, but that's the straw that broke the camel's back. Vivek's idiom is, I always wait for the empty train. Is that a real idiom? We don't have that one in English. I would say idioms can work both informally and formally. Yeah, like it's raining cats and dogs. It's raining cats and dogs. So it is more informal. This one's more informal. You would just say in formal English, it's raining very heavily. It's raining heavily. There's a lot of rain. Paint the city red. And we use, for some reason, we use town, even though town is smaller than city. Yeah, wild goose chase. Often, though, if you don't have a better way to express something, if something does not have a better way than the idiom to express it, then it's okay to use that idiom in formal English. It's not necessarily unacademic or unprofessional if it's the best way to express something. And oftentimes, a lot of idioms are the best way to express something. We have that expression for a reason. We have that expression for a reason. Vivek, your idiom always hits someone with a power hammer. Is that real? Is that a real idiom? Yeah, straw here means hay, like hay that you would feed to an animal. Okay, so you have the idea. But here when we're using formal English, the reason I bring this up, and when we're talking about questions, formal English means grammatically correct. That's the main thing about formal English. It is grammatically correct. So let's look at the grammatically correct way to use a preposition. What day did class start on? Grammatically correct actually is on what day did class start. This one is actually the 100% correct way to say it. Informal English has had an influence on the way we write questions and on the way we speak questions. So you'll hear this, and maybe even in writing, you'll see this more often. What day did class start on? And there's nothing wrong with it. It's fine. However, the correct way is on what day did class start? What street do you live on? On what street do you live? So starting with the preposition is actually going to be your 100% correct way to write these questions. If you were to say these out loud to another American, they would think you are being very formal. They would understand what you're saying, but it sounds like you're fancy. You would sound educated, maybe rich. Maybe people would make assumptions about you. Oftentimes, unfortunately, and I say this is unfortunately, a lot of times when we use formal English, oftentimes people might think you are pretentious. Trying to sound important, trying to sound smart. Maybe you know this slang. You're showing off. Sometimes when people are too formal, other people might think they are pretentious. So be careful with your formal English. I support your use of formal English. I support your use of grammatically correct English. If you ever use it with other English speakers, especially English speakers who are more used to informal language, they might make assumptions about you. And that is a terrible thing. That is a terrible thing. Because grammatically correct English is the best English. It's the best English. Who did you borrow the money from? No. Remember, move the preposition to the beginning to be correct. From whom, and notice who becomes whom. Who is the subject form? Whom is the object form with the M. From whom did you borrow the money? Now, in modern English, right now, in current English, whom is falling out of favor. Who will be used for subject and object. So whom is slowly falling out of favor. However, the rule is not hard. It drives me kind of crazy. Drives me kind of crazy that people don't want to use whom. It's just the object form. It's not that hard. So we have a preposition. If you have a noun after a preposition, that's an object noun. It is the object of the preposition. So a noun following a preposition will be an object of the preposition. From whom did you borrow the money? It's not that hard. It's actually not that hard. I see you're still running on with the idioms there. Good job. You guys know a lot of idioms. Yeah, idioms are very common. It's okay to use idioms. I think even in formal English, idioms will show up. In the English language, actually, Shakespeare is responsible for a lot of our idioms. And who's more formal than Shakespeare? Probably, well, a lot of people, but he is also responsible for a lot of formalities in English as well. Question words plus noun or adjective or adverb. Let's take a look. How, what, which, and whose are often followed by nouns, adjectives, or adverbs. Good. Leo, you're going to use slang English now to sound less pretentious. That's good. Use the English that's comfortable for you. Ultimately, I'll land on that advice. Use the English that is most comfortable for you, that encourages you to speak and write, that you have fun with. Always have fun with what you're learning to do. If you're working on a new skill, make sure you're having fun. If you're not having fun, you're probably working on the wrong skill. So have fun with it. If formal English or informal English is more fun, go with that. However, don't use it in a job interview. Don't use informal English in a job interview. Okay, let's look at these. What, and again, how, what, which, and whose, followed by nouns, adjectives, or adverbs. What kind of music do you usually listen to? Let me try that one more time. What kind of music do you usually listen to? So we have the question word what, and then kind, a noun, right? What kind of music do you usually listen to? Try saying this sentence. I know you're in front of your computer, in front of your tablet, in front of your phone right now. Try to say this sentence out loud. It's a bit of a tongue twister. It's a little difficult because do you usually? What kind of, and even ooh. What kind of music do you usually listen to? Good luck with that one. Whew. What sort of food is your favorite? How big is your country's population? How often do you drink? So what sorts? So what followed by noun. How big? How followed by an adjective. How often? How followed by an adverb. What kind of music do you usually listen to? That's the one you need to say out loud. That's the one you need to say out loud. Hi, Aaron. Welcome. We're talking about questions. Okay, 10 minutes. Got a lot to still go through. Okay, I'm going to speed up a little bit. How fast does she drive? How followed by fast. What would that be? Was that adjective or adverb? How fast does she drive? I think it's adverb. How far is that city from here? How far? How much did that cost? So you get the idea. Let's talk about what and which. Of course, what and which are used with nouns to make questions. Which size? There's the noun. Which size would you like? Which country did you visit? Which country did you visit? So noun, size, noun, country. What kind? Again, a noun. What kind of phone do you have? What gym do you work out at? So nouns, which and what, followed by nouns. Steve, how much? How much is that doggy in the window? Steve is talking about an old, let's see, where is it? An old song. I'm not going to play it for you, but if you have the chance after this lesson, go ahead and look for this song title, How Much Is That Doggy in the Window? There is very little difference between what and which. In general, we prefer to use which if there is a limited number of choices. We use which if there's a limited number of choices. For example, which channel is the game on? So a limited number of channels, right? The TV is not, it does not have unlimited channels. Although like cable nowadays, holy cow, there are a lot of channels. You could get a lot of channels. Which team are you cheering for? A limited amount of teams, right? Each league only has a certain amount of teams. So a limited amount. Which team are you cheering for? In the USA, which state is your favorite? Rolando, a question. What size would you like? Yes, we can ask that question. Leo, you're answering the question. Which team are you cheering for? Golden State, the Golden State Warriors. They are the favorite basketball team right now. Of course, they have the best player in Stephen Curry. So they're a good team to root for, I think. What size would you like? Oh, it's the one up top. Is it proper to say that? Oh, which size or what size? Yeah. Which size would you like? What size would you like? You could say either. Of course, remember which, again, refers to limited choices, and there's limited choice of size. However, if that limitation of size is not important to you, what size would you like? Yeah, you could ask that. You might hear that in a store. What size do you like? In the USA, which state is your favorite? Nevada, because it has Las Vegas in it. My favorite state is Washington, because that's my home. That's my home sweet home. How do you pronounce? Oh, Stephen Curry. I think he's a Stephen Curry, not a Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry. I think it's Stephen Curry. What planet are you from? What color of shoes did you buy? What kind of food did you eat? What planet are you from? Sometimes I meet people or I see people on TV and I wonder that. That's the question I ask them. What planet are they from? What color of shoes did you buy? Because they don't seem like they're from Earth. They seem like they're from another planet. What color of shoes did you buy? What kind of food did you eat? Other ways of asking why. Yeah, most of us are from Earth. There are few people. Mukhtar, Washington, D.C. is not a state. It is a It's only a city. Oh, what do they call it? It's the District of Columbia. That makes no sense, right? Washington District of Columbia. It's a district. It's not a state on its own. I don't know what that means, District of Columbia. This is not tea, this is coffee. What kind of tea did I drink? Actually, last night I drank blood orange tea. I drank tea flavored like blood orange, and it was delicious. Why did you do that? Another way of asking why questions is to start with the question word what and end in for. Why did you do that? What did you do that for? What did you do that for? So start with what and end in for. And yes, you can end these ones in for. Why are you here? What are you here for? It's a very rude question. Both of them. Why are you here? What are you here for? Those are not nice questions. Let me pop myself off so you can maybe read the whole sentence. Why should I do that? What should I do that for? So you can replace why with what for. Why with what for. Yes, Aaron, blood orange tea. Can you believe it? There's so many crazy flavors of tea anymore. Okay, that's it. How come instead of asking why? This is used mainly to show surprise. When using how come, do not use inversion. And you remember what inversion is when you put an auxiliary or a question word before a subject. Here we will not invert. Don't use do, does, or did in positive. Why do you hate tomatoes? How come you hate tomatoes? Why did you see that movie? How come you saw that movie? Why are you sick again? How come you're sick again? Yeah, I should ask it ask it the right way. Here, I'll disappear so you can see the questions. Why do you hate tomatoes? How come you hate tomatoes? Why did you see that movie? How come you saw that movie? Why are you sick again? How come you're sick again? These are questions kids ask. These are like children questions, kids questions, because everything surprises them. They don't know why people behave the way they do. And sometimes they're surprised at some of the actions of adults. So they'll ask a how come question. It's a weird thing to say, like, how come you're sick again? It's kind of asking somebody, like, what's wrong with you? Like, are you normally sick? And how come? What's the reason you're normally sick? Yeah, how come you were so late? Something a teacher might ask. Where are we now? Let's go down. How come you're so late? Generally, I would expect these questions to be asked by a child, by a kid. That's the way they phrase their questions. Rosa is asking, how come you teach us from the USA? Well, that's where I live. I live in the USA. I have to teach you from the USA. No other choice. It would be too difficult to travel to another country and attempt this. How come is like asking why. Why do you? Why did you? It's kind of like asking why, but it shows surprise. It'll show surprise. How much do we have? Okay, I'm going to fly through the last one. Okay, hold on to your seats. We're going fast. Asking for descriptions. What and then like is commonly used to ask for a description. This means I do not know anything about it, so please tell me. I know nothing about this subject. So, what is Venezuela like? Means I have never been to Venezuela. Describe it to me. What was the party like? I did not go to the party. Describe it to me. What is that soup like? I have not had that kind of soup before. Describe it to me. The verbs look, taste, sound, feel, and smell are also used with what like. So sensation words, sense words. What does he look like? I have not seen him. Describe him to me. What did that taste like? I have not tasted that. What does it taste like? Describe the taste to me. What does music from that country sound like? I have not heard music from that country. What does it sound like? How is used to ask about a person's health or happiness. It is also more personal. How is she doing? Is she okay? How was the movie? I didn't see the movie. How was it? How is your mother? I have not seen your mother lately. How is she? How is your food? I have not tried your food. Please tell me, how is it? What is your opinion? Oh, okay, we made it to the end. Wow. Once again, you had a lot of examples. There are so many students. There's so many of you that show up to these. I cannot quite possibly fit it all in, but you guys are amazing. Thanks for being with me. One more time, the link to the class notes. Aaron, do the exercise for this one. Do the questions exercise. Please do the questions exercise. And I will grade, Aaron, I will grade your last assignment today. If I have time, I'll get to it today. And you guys have a fantastic week. It was good seeing you all again. It was a lot of fun. I actually like this topic. It was a super amount of fun. It's always fun to be with you guys and talk about English. Have a fantastic week. Practice your English, practice your questions, practice everything. Practice your formal English, your informal English. Practice speaking, practice reading, practice writing, practice spelling, practice your grammar, practice everything. Practice, always practice. Look at the YouTube videos. Look at our channel on YouTube if you have any questions. I have to go to my physical brick and mortar classroom with walls and tables and chairs and a computer and students. So I have to leave this virtual computer space now. I'm going to play a short video from Sean. So I'm going to play you a short video from Sean. So stick around, watch this short video from Sean, and I'll see you next week. Okay, bye-bye everybody, bye-bye. I look forward to seeing you in 1 week's time.
Hi everyone, thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to our channel. Also, if you want the full experience of being a student in a Smrt Live class with things like homework and teacher feedback, follow the link and become a premium subscriber. Also, if you want to see more videos from this class, check out our playlist.